see. Check on YouTube. Testing. Second. All right, the audio's working. Just wanted to make sure. I know it's happened before where there wasn't any audio, so just wanted to make sure. All right. As always, you guys know the drill. Usually, in terms of viewership, it usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes for people to tune in. Totally get that when it comes to random streams. One of the main reasons why it's random is just because it's just a matter of trying to find time to do these. Based on the polls, I think it was like 56% of people that voted in the poll that I had in terms of asking you guys how often you guys want me to do live streams. You guys said once a week, so I was thinking about doing it yesterday, Saturday, but ran out of time. So I was like, all right, Sunday, the day's almost out, so I'll make sure to to do that. So here we are. So definitely want to hear your how you guys are doing and everything. One of the reasons why I'm also doing this late is because the Sympathizer episode 3 aired at 9 p.m. On HBO Max. So I'm a huge Park Chan-wook fan, so I had to see that third episode and was fantastic. It's going to be a shame that the other 4 episodes, I think there's 4 more episodes. The other 4 episodes aren't directed by Park Chan-wook. So kind of a disappointment, but first 3 episodes I'm really liking so far. So hopefully, if any of you guys are watching this in regards to the recap, or no, not the recap, the rewatch of this live stream, let me know if you're watching Sympathizer, because if not, highly recommend it. It's really good. So I'm just checking something on my phone. I also finished rewatching the Rocky films. Plan to rewatch Creed next. Surprised at how bad Rocky 5 was. Like, I remember I saw Rocky 5 decade plus ago, and I remember enjoying it, but it's odd rewatching it and just seeing like just how bad it is. I was like, holy cow. Rocky Balboa was better. Middle of the road movie for sure, but definitely much better than Rocky 5. Rocky 5 was like all-time low for the franchise, no question. 3 and 4 are like in that kind of so bad it's good kind of way, which is odd. It's odd because the first Rocky started out as like a nice little gritty, inspirational ride's tale, and then just the sequels are just like, even the second one I'm not the biggest fan of. Like, I think that some of it's competent, but I think as a whole it just kind of is like So I think in terms of Rocky movies, I think it, for me, might go 1, 6, 2, 4, 3, 5. I would say, because four is like a legit so bad it's good. 3 is teetering that line of just between being a bad movie and just like having some so bad it's good elements. It's tough. It's tough. Excuse me. You're on live stream. Check something. And as always, as I always like to say, those of you that don't have Letterboxd, highly recommend you get it. I'm looking at it right now. It's a great way to keep track of movies. Yeah, I mentioned the Rocky franchise, but the Alien franchise. I rewatched Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and Alien. Thinking about possibly rewatching Aliens. It's been 7 years, I think. The View with Drew Harry on what's up? The View with Drew, I have Letterboxd. Oh, dude, awesome. Are you following me on Letterboxd? Because if not, follow me and then I'll follow you back. My username is my first name dot last name. I try to keep it simple. But yeah, I love Letterboxd. I've had it since 2017, but I didn't really start. I started using it kind of in 2018, 2019 is when I started using it religiously. And now I use it every day. Like in terms of social media apps, that is hands down my go-to. I like other apps. I usually am more private, but when it comes to Letterboxd, it's like just it's almost like a diary, if you will. So I always tell people, I'm like, if you like movies, get it. TV shows, I know from what I understand, that Letterboxd mentioned at the beginning of the year that they're going to be putting on like TV shows, not just like TV miniseries, but like actual TV shows on there. So they do, that'd be awesome because right now I just log TV shows on IMDb. But yeah, The View with Drew. Are you new to the channel? Just out of curiosity. So I've been doing YouTube since 2015, which is crazy to think. It's been a long journey. Always drinking water. The View with Drew. Yes, I'm new. Nice, man. Welcome to my channel. Yeah, I do a lot of like top 10 lists, Academy Award, like Best Picture related stuff. So like several years ago, I think it was like 2020, 2021, I ranked all the Best Picture winners. And that was like by decade. And then I just combined all of them and ranked them. And then right now I'm doing like year by year with the Academy Award Best Picture nominees, like ranking them. And that's been fun. I pretty much I have for the next year or two everything set up. Right now, I'm working my way through the 1970s Best Picture nominees. So I'm almost done that, but there's a couple that are kind of hard to find. View with Drew. I've been on YouTube since 2020. I hit 1,003 subscribers recently. Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, we should collaborate sometime. If you do like movie reviews and like TV show related stuff, like I said, I do. Like I make like short films. I've done a couple feature-length films, but I also mainly do like movie reviews, TV show reviews, top 10 lists, Academy Award related stuff. I try to do a wide variety of things. Just keep things wide. I don't know about you, but for me, I started getting a lot of subscribers when I started doing my director ranking lists. And I was happy that I took that risk because that was something that like was a personal thing where I started trying to actually watch all of them. And then I was like of certain directors, and I was like, why not just post this on YouTube? Like it started, I was just kind of like a diary thing. I was like, yeah, just so that way I have, a video of like, hey, me doing this. And then it turned out people really liked this. I was like, oh, cool. I'll keep doing this. Like, I love it. The video I do movie reviews and Lego Marvel short films. Oh, that's awesome. That's got to be difficult though, in terms of the Lego Marvel short films, because I know that you have to probably, if I'm not mistaken, with the Legos, like move it like centimeter by centimeter, frame by frame, almost like claymation, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Ace Palettes is in the chat. He says, "What's up, man, dude? Did you finish season 3 of Dexter?" I told you. I know. Last we spoke, we were kind of in agreement about season 3. Um, don't worry. I promise you, season 4 of Dexter, it's worth it. Season 4 of Dexter, I think season 4 of Dexter I finished in 2 days, which for me, I'm a slow watcher. Like for example, last week when we spoke in terms of live stream, I think I said I was on Justified season 6, episode 9, and I'm still on that. But I know that I have to binge watch the last 4 episodes because my goal is to finish Justified by the end of April, which is in 2 days. Ace Split just definitely picked up. First episode was a little slow. Season 3 of them. Yeah, totally. No. I get what you're saying. Um, halfway through. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, you said you're halfway through it. Yeah. See, it's funny because season 3 it started out slow, but I was still able to kind of vibe with it. But then I think it was around the halfway mark was when I was realizing like I'm really not digging this like that much. Like it's kind of a come down compared to season 2. Like season 2 was just so strong, and it felt like finality. Versus season 3, it just felt like I don't know, like I don't want to say like soap TV, but it just wasn't. I wasn't vibing with it. But like I said, the last couple of episodes are really good. Specifically, the season finale of season 3 does a really good job of setting up season 4. Esports. Oh, the next 6 episodes of season 3 good. Um, yes and no. As I mentioned, the season 3 finale I think is really good. I think there's elements of the other 5 episodes that are really good, but then there's other elements not so much. Trying to keep it vague because I don't like spoiling anything, but um, the writing of season 3 just really wasn't there. And if I'm not mistaken, someone could fact check me. If I'm not mistaken, season 3 was written during the writer's strike of 2008, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, it makes sense as to why the writing was so, low in terms of quality compared to season 1, 2, and then what you would see in season 4. Actually, let me check on that right now because I have a phone nearby. I can actually do that. Because now I myself am curious because I don't know if other people in the chat are also watching the TV show Dexter. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it looks like Dexter season 3, yeah, it came out September 2008. So September 2008, the writer's strike, I believe it started at the beginning of 2008. So yeah, that means when they were filming, they probably didn't have the strongest of scripts. Ace Blood's one thing I do find pretty cool. The guy who plays Miguel in Sons of Anarchy. Oh wow, yeah, I'm still planning to watch Sons of Anarchy as like my next show after Justified, and knowing that there's like certain actors that are in other shows that I've watched is also like pretty cool. Thinking about rewatching The Sopranos with my wife. That's a show I watched like 6 years ago. It's funny because um, The Sopranos I'm looking to possibly rewatch, and then Mad Men. Mad Men I've really been itching for a rewatch because I really liked that when I watched it back in 2018. And I didn't really rate TV shows back then. Like I did in terms of like overall, but I didn't rate them like episode by episode. So I know that some seasons I liked more than others, but I am genuinely curious in terms of Mad Men, like if it holds up on second viewing. But as it stands, I do love the show. I'll say it's Ace Plus. I mentioned it earlier. The Sympathizer I would add to your list. It's only 3 episodes right now, but it's excellent. Park Chan Woo, the director of Old Boy, Decision to Leave, Handmaiden, he directed the first 3 episodes, and it's phenomenal. Really good. Let's see. Ace Blitz, I'm really debating after Dexter 5. Do Mr. Robot or Hannibal next between those two? What do you think? Man, it's like asking which your favorite child is. Man, that's tough. It really depends on your mood, man. Um, like if you want something that is like really, really artsy, um, I would go with Hannibal. If you want something that does have art house proclivities but is more of like streamlined, I would go with Mr. Robot. They're both really underrated shows. Like I know that critically they were rated really highly, but audience wise, I feel like not many audiences kind of got on that wavelength. Unfortunately, the view with Drew, I just hit follow on Letterboxd. Let me check my phone. View Drew 27 days now following. Cool. I'm gonna follow you back right now. And I like that your Letterboxd picture is Logan, as is your photo on here. So that's cool. That yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's I do the same thing. Like as you see, my photo is legit the same photo of me on YouTube. It just makes it easier, and you'll see that I've watched a lot, and there's still some stuff that I'm backlogging. Um, let's see, Ace Splits. I could do Hannibal first. It's way shorter. I would get it done pretty quick. You will for the first two seasons. Season three will be. I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on season three because I love it. But I know some people that say they don't get too far into season three before they bail because season three is like full tilt art house. Like they're like season one, two has some of those proclivities, but season three is just like fully, fully art house. A lot of visual storytelling. I will say season three, I do think the middle part does kind of sag a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. The View with Drew, who's your favorite actor playing a superhero? Mine is Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. That's a good question. Hmm. Trying to think. If we're talking all time, that's a really good question. I do think Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is pretty great. Like I didn't read the comics or anything, but that's a role that I can't really envision anyone else playing. Versus Batman, I as much as I love Batman, I do like how there's different variations of that character. Like I love Christian Bale as Batman, but I also love Robert Pattinson as Batman. I like that there's that ability of having that. So I don't know. There's certain. I also like Jackie Earl Haley as Rorschach. Even though it's funny because I used to see myself like being like, oh yeah, I understand his views. And now I'm like, dude, you're kind of unhinged. But love the character. I think the character is very fascinating. Um, but not many people talk about him, I feel like. But Watchmen 2009 is just great. Ace Blood Logan is great. Yeah, I thought it was rock solid. I've seen it twice, and both times I thought it was rock solid. But I know that I should watch it a third time um, because I do think I think on paper that's a movie that I should love because it's basically a superhero western, and I love westerns. And I also do like how it is more of like a gritty tone. But both times I just didn't love it, but I still thought it was solid. Ace Celestia, my friend, like season one and two of Hannibal. He told me he didn't like three, though. I will definitely watch it. I'll make my own opinion. That's good, and that's good that you're doing that. I just always give people that like heads up, like, hey, season three is just it's out there, but I love it. I love it about that. But it almost seemed like the creator knew that the show was going to get canceled, so he was just like, well, if I'm going out, I'm going out blazing glory. I'm not going to hold people's hands now. I'm just going to go all out. And I love that. I really do. I appreciate the ambition. The View with Drew. Do you think Logan is the best comic book movie of 2017? I feel the only one that comes close is Thor 3. I'm trying to think. 2017, to be honest, I feel like there wasn't really any superhero movies that left a mark on me, if I'm recalling correctly, other than Logan. So yeah, I would say like Thor Ragnarok, I had fun, but I haven't revisited since 2017. So that might be the case. I'm not sure though. It's not really a superhero, but Anthony Starr's Homelander is fantastic. Yes. The Boys is really The Boys is funny because each season has gotten better and better. Like I started out watching The Boys and I was like, that's solid, I suppose. But season two, I think it was. I was like, yeah, it's much better. And then season three, I was like, holy cow, this is like really, really good. And Anthony Starr's fantastic. The View Through, what do you think is the most underrated MCU movie? For me personally, I think The Incredible Hulk. It's a good question. The Incredible Hulk I remember enjoying quite a bit. I haven't seen it since I was like a teenager, so like probably a decade ago. So I am in need for a rewatch. I actually watched the original TV show of The Incredible Hulk. So seeing like some of the references in The Incredible Hulk, like the movie with Edward Norton was cool. And I do like Edward Norton. In terms of underrated, it's tough because they're all like critically acclaimed for the most part, and they also are beloved by audiences. So it's hard for me to say what's underrated. I don't know actually, because some of my favorite ones I can't say they're underrated because, like for example, the last two Avengers movies, Infinity War and Endgame, can't say they're underrated because they're both like really beloved. And same with Black Panther. I like Black Panther a lot, but it got nominated for Best Picture. It's the first and only superhero movie to do that. So I don't know. I don't really have one, to be honest. The ones that are really low, like Black Widow, I'm not a fan of. Eternals, wasn't really a fan. So I don't know. I don't have one. I might agree with you though about the Incredible Hulk. Ace Plus. I heard the season 2 finale. Hannibal's fantastic though. Yes, it's one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen. It actually garnered tears for me the last two times I've seen it. It's beautiful, and in many ways, it feels like the same way that season 2 of Dexter felt like a series finale. Hannibal season 2 also does. Like, I would say for the average viewer, I would say stop watching Hannibal after season 2. But for other people that, like I keep mentioning, art house people that have more art house proclivities, I'd say just watch the whole show. But season 2 does have a finale that's just like it's great. It really is. The View Through, another comic book movie I find underrated is Dread, 2012. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. I That's one I've seen twice. I enjoyed that. It's funny too because it came out the same year, if I'm not mistaken, it came out a year after The Raid, the Indonesian action film. And those two are very similar. I do like The Raid more, but Dread 2012 was a lot of fun. The View Through, what do you think is the best Spider-Man movie? For me, Spider-Man 2. I know I know I'm gonna sound like a youngling here, but call it recency bias. But I think that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man. I think that film, Spider-Man 2, I enjoyed. I think that it is a rock solid film, but that's one of those films that even as like a young kid, a teenager, and now an adult, whenever I've watched, I've always thought the same thing. It's rock solid. It's well put together. It's nice. I enjoy Tobey Maguire. I enjoy Doc Ock, Alfred Molina. I enjoy it. But watching Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I understood why there's so much love for the character of Spider-Man. I get it because that film just showcases to perfection how hard it is to balance everything and how at the end of the day he loses. I mean, that's something that I thought was so powerful. Like watching that, I was like, holy cow, like they get it. Like you don't always win at the end. Like I understand there's gonna be a third movie, but it's like you don't always win. And so I don't know, just having that just was so satisfying. So it's what I wanted. Like the way many people feel about the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies is how I wanted to feel, but I didn't. But I felt that towards the animated Spider-Man ones. So might be a hot take, but it is what it is. The View Through 2017 had movies like Guardians, Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Wonder Woman. Yeah, so Guardians Volume 2 I wasn't a fan of. Spider-Man Homecoming I think is okay. I like Michael Keaton in that. And then Wonder Woman's one of those movies I'm terrified to rewatch. I enjoyed Wonder Woman in theaters, But the more I've thought about it, the more I've soured on that like last 20 or so minutes where it's just like a CGI extravaganza. And it's just like, okay, I get it. I get it. And also with the sequel not being good, it just really soured me. East Blitz, can't wait for season 4 of The Boys. Yes. June is going to be a crazy month for TV shows because you have The Boys, you have The Bear, you have House of Dragon, and I think there's a 4th show that I might be missing. But that's 3 shows that I'm watching week to week. I'm pumped for it. It's great. And actually, no. I will be watching 4 shows at that point. Actually, no, my bad. I was gonna say The Sympathizer, but I just realized that's only 7 episodes, so that's gonna end in May. But either way, I mean, there's so many good shows right now. I'm loving it. These splits. If I'm really invested in the first 2 seasons, I'll do the 3rd one. Good. Definitely do that with Hannibal. More people should watch that show. It is fantastic with what they're able to do with the cinematography. It doesn't look like, I think it's an NBC show. It doesn't look like an NBC show. And frankly, with how violent that show is, I don't know how it was a TV 14 show. Like, it's pretty violent. But I think maybe just saying it out loud, maybe they were able to get around the rating because how violent it is, but how there's no language or really any nudity. So that could have been a way. E-Splits, I agree with this, with Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I loved it. I honestly was really unhappy that it lost Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. And I also think the score should have gotten nominated, but it didn't. Indiana Jones 5 got nominated for score. Like, I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, but the score for the 5th entry, not good. The View of Drew. Who's an actor in a biopic you think looks a lot like the real person? Honestly, and I know people close to me always bust my balls for this being one of my favorite biopics, but I would say Lincoln. Lincoln 2012. I think that Lincoln does such an incredible job, and just Steven Spielberg films in general do such a great job of making the character look like the real person. Like Daniel Day-Lewis, the makeup department, him, his appearance, his mannerisms, all feel like Lincoln. And the biggest thing that really struck me about that film, though, was how much Tommy Lee Jones looked like the real life Thaddeus Stevens. It's just incredible. Like, it was just mind blowing. Like, I understand that some biopics people would argue, like with Freddie Mercury, with Queen, not Queen, with Bohemian Rhapsody, like with Rami Malek, but I don't really see it. But with Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln and Thaddeus Stevens, like Tommy Lee Jones, I see it perfectly. What about you? Let me know what you think. Let's. I hear people say Hannibal is the best film of all time, so that has me excited. What do you think about that? So yeah, Hannibal. I love the character. I think that it's a very interesting blend. He is someone that cares a lot about manners, all about presenting himself, but then he's also like this truly horrific cannibalistic serial killer. But I think that his smart, knowledgeable approach to everything is just so fascinating for me, and that's why I lean more towards him in terms of villains. I also love the fact that he's barely in Silence of the Lambs, but he leaves such an impact, and that's another villain where you would think, because of how much I love Anthony Hopkins as Silence of the Lambs, you would think that I wouldn't be down for other interpretations. But after seeing Hannibal, the TV show, I'm okay with that because it's a different interpretation, but it's still really impactful. So I would say, yeah, he's my favorite villain, probably. The View of Drew. I think Joaquin Phoenix and Jamie Foxx look a lot like the real Johnny Cash and Ray Charles. Yeah, I've seen both of those movies. I've actually seen every James Mangold film. And yeah, I do need to rewatch Walk the Line, but yeah, Joaquin Phoenix did look a lot like him, and Jamie Foxx as well. Like, I feel like he won Best Actor because of that, because of just how similar. But yeah, hey Splits, I heard that there was going to be a 4th season, but it got canceled. Why did that happen? Because it's a show that it has a very very niche audience. Like, it's not really a show that, I know it might sound pretentious, but it's not really a show that you can just recommend to anyone. Like it's not a show you can just be like, "Hey, you want to watch Hannibal?" Because it doesn't really follow your typical crime format. Like the first season in particular is deceptively deep, where it seems like it's a villain of the week structure, but it's actually feeding you a lot of information that sets up season two, and also like certain things that happen towards the end of season one. So there's that, and then also the violence is very graphic, surprisingly graphic, as I mentioned. So it's just, that's why, like, I don't think any network, even HBO, was probably like, I mean, this is an expensive show, and you want to make another season. I just don't see that there's like a huge audience for that. Like, there's not many people that I know personally that watch Hannibal. I heard about it through my film, my what's it called, my critical viewing teacher in high school. That's how I heard about the show. And then in terms of my friends, I think only one of my friends watched the show. So again, like, I have a lot of friends, but I have one friend that has watched the show. So I don't know. It's a shame because I do love the show, and I do try to recommend it to like certain people where I'm like, hey, I think you would like this. It's under the radar. But usually, if it's between the two, I usually recommend Mr. Robot. But if you're willing to give something that's a little bit more abstract a chance, I would definitely recommend it. The View of Theory of the Wolverine, I also find underrated. The Wolverine, I think have I seen it twice? No, I think I might have only seen it once. I saw in theaters The Wolverine, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, except for the third act. The third act I thought really fell apart, but I heard that the extended cut is much better. But I enjoyed it in theaters. Like, it was a nice theater experience. Crazy to think that was 11 years ago. The View Through. What did you think about Bohemian Rhapsody? Um, I wasn't a fan, to be honest. Like, Bohemian Rhapsody, I'll put it to you this way: the music is good. I think that they do a good job recreating the events of the third act, but the third act lasts way too long. It's also a movie that just, it feels like Freddie Mercury's life, which had a lot going on. It felt like a Cliff Notes version of it, with them taking out a lot of things, then adding certain things, and then just the PG-13 rating, I thought, also kind of hammered it a lot. And I'm saying this, keep in mind, Ace Bloods can attest to this. I'm a huge Rami Malek fan. Mr. Robot is one of my favorite shows of all time. I've been a fan of Rami Malek since 2012. I'm happy he got recognized. I'm happy that he now has some clout, but the movie itself, I feel very mixed about. I'm like, like, I think on Letterboxd I have it as like a 2.5 out of 5. It's not terrible, but it was, in my eyes, the weakest Best Picture nominee of 2018. I suppose people say Hannibal has the best season two ever. Yeah, yeah. Season two is insane. It's insanely great. There's so many twists and turns. There's so many payoffs. That's why I watch it yearly. Like, I make a point every October to watch it because it's that great. And it's 13 episodes a season. I usually prefer seasons that are like 8 to 10 episodes. So the fact that there's 13 and I still, find myself watching it and glued to the screen is just amazing. See, I heard his performance as LA is fantastic. Yeah, it really is. I was happy that he got nominated, I think, a couple times for Emmys. And I think he won, if I'm not mistaken, for the first season. But his performance gets even better with each season. And it's definitely one of my favorite performances from an actor in a lead show. It's just true, like, so much depth is in that role. Always need water when I'm talking. Yeah, The View with Drew. I know it sounds like some of these movies I'm being hard on. I promise I love movies. Ace Bloods, apparently Mr. Robot cinematography is fantastic as well. Yes, it is. It's heavily inspired by Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma himself was inspired by Alfred Hitchcock. So it's kind of a full circle moment that, one was inspired by another. But anyways, yeah, the cinematography in Mr. Robot's great. I like how the way it's done is most films and TV shows have it where it's like, you want things in the center because your eyes immediately go to that. But Mr. Robot has it where it's like, it's in one of the quadrants, so it's like it's very off-putting, or they're like super up close, or they'll go like close to it, or the camera will go in. So it's very unique camera work, and I think that the off-kilter nature really adds to the nature of what the filmmaker is going for. It's also great because Sam Esmail, the creator, after season one, he directed every single episode after that, and it showed. It's nice to see someone that was able to make his vision without having to have it where there's multiple directors, multiple cooks, if you will. Yes, what I heard has David Venture vibes as well. Yes, the calculated digital look of the show definitely was inspired by it. It's actually kind of funny because season one of Mr. Robot is like heavily inspired by a certain David Fincher film, and I thought that season one was inspired by another David Fincher film. Again, trying to be vague, but it turned out it was actually another film. And by the end, I realized I was like, that's the one. But season one's great, but I know that when I recommended it to some friends thought season one was just good, but they thankfully liked each season, and they saw that it built and built, which was great. There's a reason it's my favorite show, and I'm saying that over Breaking Bad. I love Breaking Bad, but Mr. Robot, A-Splits. People say season 2 is the weakest, but still good. So season 2 on first viewing, yes. On multiple viewings, no. Season 2 has the unfortunate responsibility of facing the events of what happened at season 1 whilst at the same time setting up for season 3. That's a lot. That's almost like, think about like Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, where it has that task of trying to, have payoff, but then at the same time acknowledging the future events. That's tough. But I think season 2 of Mr. Robot is just so great with like how it handles certain twists and turns, and then there's a lot more character driven stuff as opposed to like the very story driven first season. So I love season 2 of Mr. Robot, but I didn't on first watch, if that makes sense. In fact, I almost bailed the first time I watched it on season 2, but that was also just like where I was in life. With you, what's your favorite performance from Mark Ruffalo? For me, it's Zodiac. So it's funny to say Zodiac because there's another film that did he play Reporter in Zodiac? No, he didn't. I always get that mistaken. No, he didn't. Mark Ruffalo, for me, I think my favorite performance from him is in Spotlight. I think that was a great performance. Dark Waters is another one where he gives a fantastic performance. I love those like journalist type films. I think that those are really effective. But I do love him in Zodiac. I think Zodiac is a very, very well acted film. Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr. That's really good. It's great too at how I was able to recapture so much details of those events. It's fantastic. The Bueller, he was great in Spotlight. Yes, I think Spotlight is just so fantastic. Like, I know some people are like, "Oh, it should have won Best Picture," and I'm like, I disagree. It's one of my favorite films of all time. A-Splits, I'm pretty sure season 3 is your favorite, but I've heard more people say season 4 is the best. Yeah, I mean, I think I said it I think I might have said it in my top 10 films. I mean, not top 10 films, top 10 TV shows of all time. I think I might have said it in the video. I forget because I filmed that video such a long time ago. But if I'm not mistaken, I said that it's a lot like choosing your favorite kid. And that's how I feel about Mr. Robot. I said season 3 is my favorite, but season 3 and 4, I think, are so... I don't want to say interchangeable because I only mean interchangeable in that the quality is just so high that it's so hard to pick which one. I think they're both fantastic. They are masterpieces. And I think also the reason why I said season 3 is because if, God forbid, if we didn't get a season 4, season 3, the way it ends, it works as a series finale. because that's how network TV is. A lot of times they have to have it where there is a sense of finality to each finale, because it's like, well, wait a minute, do we know if we're getting renewed or not? Oh, we don't? Okay, so we got to make sure that this is wrapped up. Ace Blitz, and you said the ending is better than the 6 Feet Under in one of your videos, so that has me very excited because that is my favorite ending so far. Yeah, Mr. Robot's series finale, it actually brought tears to my eyes the last time I watched it. It's so emotionally satisfying. It's really good. Therapeutic, I would say. And I mean that in the best of ways. It's also cool how they somehow managed to have a 2001: A Space Odyssey homage in the finale. It worked really well. Loved it. The view is true. I know some people will say Ruffalo's best is Hulk, while he was good. I wouldn't say Hulk. Yeah, I agree. I honestly, this might be a hot take, but I think honestly my favorite rendition of Hulk is Edward Norton. I think Edward Norton was really good in that. I especially liked the focus that he had in terms of the physicality of that. Like I really liked that approach. Again, I like Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, but it's a hot take, I know. The youth, you're also speaking of Hulk. I have a Lego Hulk Part 2 short film coming to my channel soon. Oh, dude, awesome. I'll have to subscribe to your channel then. Just so that way I can see it, because I love supporting fellow filmmakers. The youth, you're also prefer Edward Norton. Oh, cool. Yeah, I love Edward Norton. I think Edward Norton's such a great actor. I know that he's hard to work with, and it's funny because Birdman kind of pokes fun of that. But I just think he's so talented. I really do. He splits my top 3 endings so far are 1, 6 Feet Under, 2, Sons of Anarchy, 3, Breaking Bad. Oh, that has me excited. Because, yeah, 2 of those are some of my favorites. Sons of Anarchy I haven't seen yet. But, yeah, Breaking Bad's finale is amazing. And 6 Feet Under, as you know, I think is amazing as well. Even just think about it, it really hits hard. Drew Ruffalo was good as Hulk, but they ran his Hulk right into the ground with She-Hulk. So I actually haven't seen She-Hulk. I actually feel bad for saying this, but I actually kind of dipped on the Marvel shows. I think Moon Knight, I only got 1 episode in and I bailed, and I didn't finish Moon Knight. I didn't watch She-Hulk. I didn't watch Miss Marvel. Season 2 of Loki, I think it was. Didn't watch any of that. It's become homework at this point. It's exhausting trying to keep up with all that. Like, it's so hard to do. It really is. It just made me so tired. Ace Blitz, Edward Norton was great in Fight Club. Agreed. He was great in that. American History X, he was also great. Primal Fear. The 90s was really when he hit his stride. And then 2000s, people were like, oh, he's kind of hard to work with, so he got less roles. Ace Blitz, Sons of Anarchy is worth it for the finale alone. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I've heard, if I'm not mistaken, that Sons of Anarchy kills off a lot of people and that it's like really unpredictable. So if that's the case, then I mean, I'm definitely down to watch it. The View with True Fight Club was a great movie. Agreed. I'm a huge. I know Ace knows this, but The View with True, I am a huge David Fincher fan. He's actually my favorite director. I think he's fantastic. He's only had, as far as I'm concerned, he only has 1 bad movie, and that's Alien 3. I shouldn't say bad, mixed, middle of the road. He splits. Yeah, they kill off a bunch of lovable characters. That's good to hear. It means that it's got that like unpredictability feel to it. Out of the actors who play Spider-Man in live action, who's your favorite? Man, you're giving me a lot of hot take questions. So I know that technically I grew up watching the Tobey Maguire ones, but I honestly would have to say Andrew Garfield. I think that Tobey Maguire he's charismatic, yes, but I think that Andrew Garfield has that kind of dorkish but nerdy nature. Also at the same time, just very charismatic. I don't know that. Like, I know that when those films came out, I know that people weren't all on board with him. But that's one thing I will say about the new Spider-Mans that I am happy about is that I felt like, what was it, Spider-Man? Was it No Way Home or Far From Home? I forget whichever one it was. But regardless, whichever one he was in, it was like that all of a sudden regained people's interest in Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. And I'm glad because I think that he was actually pretty good. Um, I think Tom Holland is, I don't know, he's kind of bland. He's kind of bland. Like, I get it that he's younger and he's more of age of what Spider-Man's supposed to be, but it's just, I think he's kind of bland. I don't know, man. I know, I'm filled with hot takes right now. East West, the best season of the show are season 7, 6, 4. Oh, cool. So the later seasons then. That's good to know that it like builds. The View with Drew, I don't think that's a hot take. Andrew Garfield was fantastic as Spider-Man. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think that he did a really good job in the role. And not just like as like one or the other as like Peter Parker or Spider-Man. I think that he did a good job in like both. The Amazing Spider-Man, I do think that whilst it has its issues, I do think it is enjoyable. He's let's see, I do think Tom Holland is a bit overrated. Yeah, and honestly, like I feel like his girlfriend now, Zendaya, I think she's the better half in terms of the acting caliber. Like right now, my two favorite films of 2024 are films with Zendaya. Challengers. If you guys haven't seen it, highly recommend it. It's in theaters. It's excellent. It's a tennis drama, but I know the commercials made it seem like like a nudity filled affair, but it really isn't. In fact, there's no nudity in the movie, legit. And then Dune Part 2, I think, is really, really good. And this might be a hot take, but I really don't want to Dune Part 3. I think that Part 2, the way it ends, it's perfection. How are you supposed to top that? How can you top that? I don't see it. I really don't. The View of True, my personal favorite Guardians of the Galaxy is Raccoon. Yeah, honestly, especially with Volume 3, like they did a really good job of his backstory with Volume 3. And I'm saying that as someone that's been kind of lukewarm on the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I think Volume 3 is worth a view for that whole part of the film alone. He splits, you gotta love Rocket. Yeah, he's very enjoyable. Um, it's really cool to see just that character develop over those 3 movies and even the other entries in the series. It's cool. Yeah, now in terms of MCU movies, I have caught up. I do make sure to see pretty much everyone in theaters. I think there's only a couple that I missed in theaters in terms of the MCU, and that was, let's see if I can do it right. I missed seeing Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 1 and 2, um, Doctor Strange, Spider Man, Homecoming. I think that was the first Tom Holland one. I didn't see that in theaters. I really wasn't interested in it. But I think those are the only ones I missed in theaters. Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, actually. My bad. Yeah, 2017 was a rough year in terms of me going to the cinema. 2017, I didn't really go in the first half. It wasn't until the last couple of months when I got Movie Pass, and it was like I went a lot after that. The View of the Drew, what's the movie sequel you feel should have ended the franchise? I know one people say is Furious 7. Uh it's funny you mentioned that The View of Drew because I was actually talking to a friend, a really good friend of mine, about the Fast and Furious movies. I would say Fast Five is what should have ended the franchise. That felt like a nice combination of the two, like the heist that they were trying to go for, but then also like the street racing. It felt like a nice combination. All the characters got satisfying arcs. It seemed like a nice way to send these characters off, and yet here we are. We've gotten 5 more movies, and there's probably going to be another one. To answer your question, though, I'm trying to think. I would say the Terminator franchise. I would say Terminator 2. They should have ended it after that because, again, that's when there's no way you could top it. Die Hard, I don't think should have been a franchise. I think it should have just been a one-off. Um, trying to think what else. I'm trying to think off the top of my mind. The Fugitive. I think that The Fugitive, the sequel, the U.S. Marshals, it's kind of like, should have just been a one-off. I don't know. That's the thing. There's certain movies I'm just like, it should have been a franchise to begin with, but here we are. Rocky is a franchise I just rewatched with my wife, and I would argue that it should have just been a one-off. But I am glad it exists because we ended up getting Creed, and I do like Creed quite a bit. Creed, if we're looking at the Creed franchise, Creed should have just been a one-off. The Hannibal franchise, not the TV show. In terms of movies, that one should have. I mean, arguably they should have just been Silence of the Lambs, but I would have said that they should have ended it after what was it, Red Dragon? That's the thing. Red Dragon and Hannibal the movie, they have their enjoyable moments, but they're not really needed, if you will. He splits after Dexter, Mr. Robot, Hannibal. I'll do Mad Men next. I heard it's actually inspired. BoJack. Yes, I saw Mad Men, and then I heard BoJack Horseman was heavily inspired, so I watched it because of that, and I'm glad that I did. Love both shows. T2 is a great choice. Last Crusade should have been the last Indiana Jones movie. Oh, you mean there's a fourth and fifth Indiana Jones? I don't know that. I have the 4K set, and I think there's only 3 movies. I'm just kidding. I know that there's 5. Yeah, Indiana Jones 3 was great. It was a great way to end the franchise. Literally going off into the sunset. It's a perfect ending. It really is. Yeah. Oh, Pirates of the Caribbean. That's a franchise that is another one that I jokingly tell people, like, yeah, there's a 4th and 5th one. I think that at World's End, I know that it has its detractors, and I get that. But I think that Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End is where they should have ended the franchise. I think that ending was just so good, especially the ending itself. I mean, just the music of that film is just fantastic, and also just the whole romance between Elizabeth and Will, I just think is so fascinating, especially the just morally gray area of that whole situation that they had. I just think it really brought some interesting questions that you wouldn't expect from a Disney film, but here we are. Ace Plus, Silence of the Lambs, the only one worth checking out. Now I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. I would say the only one that's really not worth your time in terms of the Hannibal franchise is Hannibal Rising. I made the mistake of watching it just out of curiosity. It's like it's a prequel even before the TV show Hannibal. It's basically about how Hannibal gained a taste for cannibalism, and it's not good. It's really not good. Not Mind. That's the TV show. Manhunter, the one directed by Michael Mann. It's an interesting take. It's pretty much the events of Red Dragon, but it was made before Silence of the Lambs. That one I think is solid. It's worth a watch. And then Hannibal, the movie directed by Ridley Scott, I would say it's worth a view, but do not expect the same quality in terms of what Silence of the Lambs was able to accomplish. Like, I gave Silence of the Lambs a 5 out of 5. I think I gave Hannibal the movie a 3 out of 5. It's enjoyable, it's competent, but Red Dragon, I think, was directed by Brett Ratner. Should say something, but I will say Red Dragon does have Red Dragon's fun. It's not good, but it's fun. I enjoyed it, and I think those are the only entries. Yeah. So the other movies just pale in comparison, but they're worth like a watch in terms of just being like fun. But fun isn't exactly what you look at for Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs is a film that you're entertained by, but you can analyze that film scene by scene. It's truly fantastic. Can't articulate. Hey, I see a lot of reviews on Letterboxd. Anything after Indy 3 doesn't exist. Yes. Didn't know they made a 4th and 5th Indiana Jones. Yeah, I like Indiana Jones 5, I was so pumped for. I was so excited for. I legit I was going into the theater wearing my Indiana Jones fedora. And I came out of it and I was just like, man, that was such a disappointment. Like, he splits. Do I watch Silence of the Lambs or the TV show first? Oh, yeah, I forgot you haven't seen Silence of the Lambs. I would do what I do. Watch Hannibal, the TV show, and then watch the movie Silence of the Lambs. I will say this though, one thing to keep in mind, regardless of the order, is that because it's different styles and it's different also character development and just characters that I should say that they go for. There is something to keep in mind is that Jack Crawford is a character that's in both the TV show and the movie. And with Jack Crawford, he's white in Silence of the Lambs, and then he is black. He's played by Lawrence Fishburne in the TV show Hannibal. And I only say that because just so there's no confusion where it's like, wait a minute, is that like a different Jack? It's a different inclination, and I liked it honestly. I think that it works. I think it works really well. Um, it's also going to be cool that you haven't seen Silence of the Lambs because since you haven't seen Silence of the Lambs, you're going to be so surprised with the events of Hannibal, like even more so. Because for a lot of people, it's going to be that they've seen Silence of the Lambs and then they're going backwards. So then there's going to be some events that you kind of know what to expect, but you're still surprised with a lot of events of Hannibal. But because you haven't seen Silence of the Lambs, you're going to be really surprised by a lot of the events. And I'm excited about that because you're in for a treat. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Hannibal, the TV show, is on Hulu. Could be wrong about that. I own the Blu-ray set, and the Blu-ray looks fantastic. Very happy about that. Actually, let me check right now my phone. Hannibal. 1 second. All right, so I have it pulled up. Okay, so Hannibal, I'm glad I checked. Hannibal is not on Hulu. It is actually on Prime, Pluto TV, and AMC Plus. So that's cool that it's back on Prime. I remember when the show had just ended. I remember it was on Prime. I think that's how I watched it the first time. Eastwood still can't get over how good Dexter season 2 was. I get what you mean, how it could have ended there in the best possible way. Right? Yeah, like honestly, watching season 2, I was like, how do you top this? Like how? How do you top this? Like I was honestly shocked. And maybe I'll rewatch season 3 at some point because maybe it's just not fair for me to compare season 2 and 3 because of just the high that season 2 gave versus the low that season 3 gave. But yeah, it was just so good. Season 4, the Trinity Killer is just great, really good. And there's a lot of twists and turns in season 4 that it's just like, holy cow. I remember when I saw Dexter. I think it was 3 years ago when I watched it. I remember I watched it, and then my fiance at the time, now wife, um, I recommended the show to her, and so she started watching. And I remember when she got on season 4, there was an episode of I forget what the episode was called, but it's a Thanksgiving dinner episode. And I was like, "Oh, you're on that episode." I was like, "I'm going to watch it with you." And that episode I saw twice in season 4, and then all the episodes after that. So like the last 4 episodes of season 4, it's perfect. Those are perfect episodes. It just doesn't get much better than that. There is nothing that will top Dexter season 4, the last 4 episodes of that show. You're in for a treat. You are in for a treat. It's Bloods. If season 4 is better than that, then it's going to be crazy. Yeah, honestly, season 4, I was kind of nervous the first couple of episodes because I was like, okay, I've heard season 4 is the best, but I'm thinking it's good. But there's certain events that occur. I think it's episode 3 or 4, season 4, and it's just like, okay, I'm in for a roller coaster ride. This is going to be insane. And it is. Can't articulate. Watched the first 6 episodes when I first aired it and dropped it. LOL. Picked it up 10 years later and loved it. That's awesome. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, can't articulate. If you're talking about Dexter, I was the same. Well, not 10 years, but season I mentioned this to Ace Bloods the last live stream, but yeah, Dexter, the first season, the first several episodes, I had a difficult time getting adjusted to it because it had that like week to week kind of format of like villain of the week. But then the last several episodes of season one, that's what hooked me, and then ever since then, it was like a binge worthy show. Ace Blitz, yeah, I heard The Getaway is incredible. Yes, it is, and I will never forget finishing that episode at not season three. I will not. I'll never forget finishing up season four, The Getaway, at 3 a.m. And I was shocked. I was shocked. It kind of got spoiled for me before, but I thought that maybe I just like misread it. But I was still shocked, and I was happy that I was still shocked. You could argue that season four also could be a finale of the show of Dexter, and I've seen some people say that where it should have ended there. Can't articulate Hannibal. Oh, okay. That makes sense because that makes sense. Can't articulate with what you're saying about Hannibal because I get that the first 6 episodes do kind of have similar to Dexter, the TV show. It has that whole like villain of the week kind of feel to it. But as you see, like watching it like 10 years later and loving it, it's deceptive with how it's like it has that format, but it's actually secretly giving you a lot of information that's then set up for the last several episodes of season one, and then of course season two as well. It's pretty insane the behind the scenes of Hannibal, just knowing how much they had planned, which is always cool to hear about that. Yes, but yeah, the last thing that happened to Dexter was when Miguel and Dexter planned to kill someone. Yeah, so that was again like the whole dynamic between Miguel and Dexter. It's just something that I don't know. Like it did not fully work for me. It felt like for both characters that it was kind of a stretch. Um, I don't know. I've seen some people say that they really like it, and I can respect that, but I just didn't fully buy it. It kind of broke some of the immersion that it was going for. He sweats. I like it more when Dexter plans his own kills. Yeah, exactly. Because the whole point of the show of Dexter that I looked at it at least was that he looks at himself as one thing, but then the reality is his actions kind of articulate something else. That's something I've always appreciated about the show of Dexter, but I felt like season three didn't really do that. It was more like his mindset and his actions were matching, and it's something that just goes against all the other seasons of Dexter. Like even season four, he what he wants and what he does is two different things, and that's something I think that really works with the show. And I would say also, I think it was I want to say season eight did that too. Not as well, of course. Season eight's really flawed, but still enjoy it. Still have elements that I do enjoy. Like it's one of those things where when I hear some people's criticisms of it, I'm like, okay, I get it. He splits. My favorite part of the show so far still was the Dexter and Doak's dynamic. Do you think the Trinity Killer tops that? Not to hype anything up, but yes, 100%. Um, Trinity Killer is great. John Lithgow. Whenever I look at John Lithgow, I look at him as the person that was in Interstellar, the person that was in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, like all these like wholesome roles. But I then watch him in something like Dexter, and he is genuinely terrifying. Um, the scenes where he is with Dexter too just have so many layers to them. Yeah, hands down. So It's not a question. Season 4 with that whole dynamic, Trinity Killer and Dexter, it's so good. You're in for a treat. I can't articulate the Trinity Killer actor voice Lord Farquaad in Shrek. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, come to think of it, actually, when I rewatched Shrek recently, and yeah, you are right. He's a good actor. It's funny too because he was in Brian De Palma's Blowout. Um, it was like a smaller role, but he was really good in that too. He's been working for a long time. I feel like he just doesn't get as much attention, so that's why I'm glad when season 4 came out, he got a lot of attention. I think he actually won an Emmy for his performance. He splits. Do you think I should stop after season 4 because I heard it does get pretty bad later? I don't want it to be Game of Thrones all over again. Um, I think that if you finish season 4 by the time I do my next live stream, I can answer that because it really it depends on how you view Dexter as a character, and it also depends on what you want from the other 4 seasons. And I say that as someone that feels mixed about the other 4 seasons. There's a lot of elements that I do like, but there's also some things I don't. For me, Dexter's a character that he never matches what's in his head with what he does. And the last 4 seasons really explore that. Like he looks at himself as someone that doesn't have empathy. But then we see him do things where it's like someone that doesn't have empathy wouldn't do that. So what are you talking about? And the last season really explores that. And some people didn't like that. Some people were looking more at what he was saying internally as opposed to what he was doing. So I know I'm not fully explaining it, but again, I'm trying not to spoil anything. So it's tough. But I did hear season 7 and his arc in New Blood are really good. Um, yeah, season 7's really good. It has a villain that's very fresh. And New Blood, I think, was a really good week to week show. Although I will say the finale, I I'm not the biggest fan of the finale. I think that as flawed as the finale of the original show is, I think that I'm more of a fan of that because that just is it was more ambitious. There's certain things that happen at the end of New Blood, and it's just like I don't fully buy it. I just don't. Yeah, it's like a 4.7 IMDb. Yeah, and I actually think it's lower than the original series finale. And again, the original series finale, I do think that there is a lot in it that I do like, but there's also some stuff not a fan of. I would say the weakest season of the last 4 seasons is probably season 6 because season 6 has such an interesting villain on paper. It has everything that I could possibly want, but the execution left a lot to be desired. But I will say this season 6, unfortunately, the twist did get spoiled. But if it didn't for you, you'll probably be surprised with a certain thing that happens in season 6. But I do enjoy it, but it has my least favorite episode in season 6. Like there's an episode where 2 characters go on a trip. It's like a bottle episode, and it feels like a bottle episode. I can't articulate. New Blood was great. I didn't mind the finale as much as everyone else did. That's fair. I get that. Like, it's one of those things where when it ended, I was like, yeah, I didn't mind it. It was all right. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, kind of prefer the ending of the original series. Like I always say without spoiling it for Ace Plus, I always say that there's 3 events at the end of the Dexter finale that happens. And I think that the first event and the third event I really like. But it's that in between that happens where it's like that you get from point A, B to C. I didn't like. I didn't like that point B. I thought that it was like not good. But I do like the A to C. I thought it was interesting. But hey, I'm the same person that liked the Game of Thrones finale, so sue me. Get a lot of hate for that too. I don't care. I think the one genuinely bad finale that I've seen where I was like, oh, dear God, would be I should have 2. I should have 3. Sorry. It's late with where I'm at. Andy Griffith's show. I think that finale is terrible. It's called Maybe or RFD. It's pretty much a setup for a spinoff show. It doesn't even have like the characters of like Andy Griffith in it. It's terrible. And then the Gomer Pyle finale is like really bad. And then last but not least, the most recent entry is House of Cards. I thought that finale was like really bad. That whole season was bad. Like when people talk about Game of Thrones, I'm like in terms of the 8th season, I'm like, I don't feel that way, but I feel that way about House of Cards final season. Explets Michael C. Hall so far so good though. Same as David in 6 Feet Under. Yeah, he's a great actor, and seeing him in some film roles is really cool too. Like he has a small part in Game Night, and he's really good in that. And he sounds so different too, which is also something that's cool. Like how he's able to put on like different voices for different characters. It's impressive. And I'm glad that he like made a recovery because I know that I think it was actually season 4 of Dexter when it happened, but he, if I'm not mistaken, got diagnosed with cancer, and he did recover thankfully. He splits his monologues are so great. Agreed. It's one of those things where he does such a good job of really articulating his inner thoughts that like you don't see anyone else as Dexter. He's that great. It's impressive, honestly. He's plus. I'm glad he did recover. He seems like a great guy. Yeah, he really does. Did you know? I don't know if you knew this, but he's actually well, not anymore. But he actually started dating and ended up marrying. Uh, what's her name? Jennifer. I think it's Jennifer Hall. Jennifer Hall, who plays his sister in the show. Don't want to butcher it. Let me just make sure I have the name. 1 second, because I don't want to butcher it. Jennifer Carpenter. Yeah, Jennifer Carpenter, who plays Deborah Morgan. They actually dated and then got married in real life. So talk about interesting and talk about really good acting because you see their brother sister dynamic and how fascinating it is, but it's like in real life, it's like wasn't a brother sister dynamic that the actors had. He split Jennifer Carpenter. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, she's good in that too. It's interesting because in terms of movies, she did like a lot of horror films, but I feel like she hasn't really been in much like lately. Can't articulate. Dexter first aired 19 years ago, and people still talk about it. It shows how much people loved it. Yeah, and honestly, I think it's interesting too how much discussion there is around the show, which I think is cool. Because some like Breaking Bad, I feel like is a show that like we can all agree it's incredible, it's great. Finale, it's satisfying. The premiere, it's satisfying. But I feel like Dexter is one of those shows where it's like you'll hear different people talk about it in different ways. You'll hear some people say, "Yeah, stop after season 4." I mean, stop the season 4 finale. You'll hear some people say, "No, no, no, it's worth it to watch until the end." Then you'll hear some people say, "Yeah, it's worth watching up until the finale itself." And then some people will say, "Skip season 8, watch New Blood." So it's interesting, and I feel like Game of Thrones, if it hasn't already become like that, I feel like Game of Thrones will also be like that. Splits Breaking Bad is so good. Yep, it's incredible. Splits. I heard some people didn't like her performance, which I think is crazy. Didn't think she's bad at all. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a bad performance at all. I think she does a really good job. It's a hard role to pull off too. She has a lot that she has to do, especially in I think it's what is it season 5? I think it is. Yeah, I think it's season 5. She has a lot to do, but she pulls it off well. I think in season 6 there's some things that happen that really divide fans. Again, keeping it vague. But there's yeah, actually now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, there's some things that happen in season 6 that really divide fans. But yeah, she's a very emotional character. Yeah, she really is. Season 3, I don't really remember much about what she did in season 3, but she has an interesting role in season 4. Ace Plus, I heard someone saying in an interview she drops the F bomb 1,000 times in the show. Really? See, I didn't know that because I thought that it was like network TV. Let me see. Oh no, it is TVMA. You're right. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, 996 uses of the F word throughout the 8 season run. Yeah, that is a lot. Oh, okay. The network TV edits dub over the strong language of words for the words. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I never thought about that. For some reason, I thought it was TV 14. You're supposed to see if someone counted the full thing. I'm always impressed when some people do that, where it's like they know the exact number of like times they say it in terms of the whole series. Like props. But yeah, I'll try to do another live stream like either next Saturday or Sunday. Just that way I can do it a month. I mean, not month, week to week. You're supposed to one thing else. About The Walking Dead is how they weren't allowed to say the F word in that show. Yeah, it's an AMC thing. Or if you are gonna say, you have to use it like sparingly. Like Breaking Bad, for example, I think only used it like 3 or 4 times in the entire duration of the show. But Hannibal, the TV show, shows that it's really on like it's really all on like the American networks. Like you can have as much violence as possible, but you can't have any language or nudity. It's very interesting to say the least. Splits. I heard if you get the Blu-ray, it's uncensored though. Yes, there are some episodes. Honestly, that might be why I'm so surprised. You might have a point because yeah, I do own Hannibal on Blu-ray, and I've only seen it on streaming once. And that was the first viewing, and that was 9 years ago. And I've seen it, I think, a half a dozen times. So yeah, the other 5 times I have watched what's called the producer's cuts, but I've heard it's only like little changes. Like, for example, there's one scene of these two bodies that are their backs are cut up to me to look like angels, and they're nude. So in the TV edit, it's basically um, blood is like covering you know the butt cheeks, and the producers edit, it's basically just the blood's removed, so you actually see it all. So it's like little things like that. Um, so basically, the producers they had to get smart with like how to cover up the nudity. So they're like, all right, well, if we're gonna have to cover nudity, we'll cover it up with like blood, like other things. So it's so weird. It really is American censorship. But I would highly recommend the Blu-rays. The Blu-rays are really good. I mean, I just dropped a top 10 favorite Blu-rays list. I'm a big proponent of like Blu-rays and 4Ks and physical media in general. He was a hilarious show about a cannibal. I don't know why I just censored. So they wanted to try to get a big audience, but it's a franchise that has always been R-rated. So it's like it should be TVMA, but it was TV 14. Which ironically though, when I go on IMDb, if I'm not mistaken, I see sometimes Hannibal it says TVMA, but I know for a fact it's TV 14. So it's weird. Can't articulate. Hannibal has the most disgusting about her I've seen. Period. They should have had a bit of profane language. Yeah, like it's a very clean show in terms of language. Like it's honestly kind of insane. Like how you see some of the most horrific violence, but then you have characters that are barely cursing. Yeah, Hannibal has some of the most disgusting imagery, and it's funny because I'll watch it. I'm just like, I'm like eating my dinner, and I'm just like watching the show. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that this happens. It's hard to watch in some instances, but it's addictive. Ace Plus, yeah, it's not like you can watch Hannibal with a family. Yeah, I would say that's a show that like 16 and up. But even then, it's like there's imagery that will always be seared in your mind, like with that show, no question about it. Like all I'm gonna say is, um, there's one murder that involves an instrument, uh, an instrument that musicians use, and it's like holy cow, like it's pretty graphic, it's pretty insane, it's pretty clever though. That's the thing about the show is that as disturbing as all the kills are, they are very clever. Like, yeah. But see, I usually don't eat if I watch something just in case there's gross scenes. That's fair. Honestly, there usually even if something kind of bothers me, usually I'm able to like still eat. But I would say the one movie I've seen where I'm like, not that I would ever watch it again, but there's one movie that I would never recommend like eating while watching. That's the movie Cannibal Holocaust. Um, Technically speaking, it's a well-made movie. Like it does a good job of making it look like a documentary, but I really didn't like how there was like actual animal cruelty. Really turned my stomach the wrong way. Like I did not like that. I understand art can garner a reaction from you, but something like Cannibal Holocaust, it's like it's such a gruesome feeling knowing that they actually killed certain animals, and it's like on screen too, and it's like, dude, like I wasn't a fan. Can't articulate. I was literally just thinking about that instrument scene. Yeah, oh man, that instrument scene. Or another one I always think about. Trying to think how I can say this without spoiling it because I know that it's kind of a surprise. But all I'll say is human mural scene. That will forever be seared in my memory. That's just it's crazy good. I think that's season. Yes, that's season 2. Season 3 doesn't have as much of that. It's more of like focus on the art house aspect, but season 1 and 2 has some like really gruesome deaths. Actually, no, that's a lie. Season 3 does have it. Season 3 does have some that are pretty. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like Dr. Chilton. Sorry, I was just thinking about that. East West, this might be a hard question for you. What's a better episode, Getaway or the season 2 finale, Hannibal? Oh, that's an easy question. Hannibal season 2 finale. I think as great as the season 4 finale is, season 2 of Dexter, that finale, is beautiful. It's saddening. It's heartbreaking. It's the full package. I think as great as Dexter season 4 is, and as hard hitting as it is, it didn't hit me as hard as season 2 finale of Dexter. I mean, not Dexter, of Hannibal, but it's still great. I know exactly what you're talking about. If you know, you know, as the kids say these days. Yeah, Hannibal's great. Hannibal's great. I wish that more people would talk about it. I really do. Can't articulate season 2 finale. Hannibal's great. One of the best. Yeah, I was gonna say I can't articulate because I know you've seen both Dexter and Hannibal. Would you agree as well, or um, just out of curiosity? Yeah, I'm really hyped for Hannibal. Heard so much good things. You heard correctly. Actually, on my laptop site, I have this on my laptop screen. My background is literally the whole cast of Hannibal. Um, Again, it's not my favorite show, but it is in my top 10. I just think it's so great. I would also recommend. I don't know if I recommended it before, Ace Blitz, but I would also recommend Westworld. I know that a lot of people do not like season 2 to 4, but I love season 1 of Westworld. I think season 2 is great. It's very ambitious. It is satisfying. Another example of a show that season 2, the finale is so great that it could have ended the whole show. Season 3, it felt like they dumbed it down for the people that got too confused over the convoluted nature of season 2. And then season 4 kind of brought things back full circle. It was pretty satisfying. I liked it. Ace I heard Westworld was really good as well. It is. It's great. It blends Western and sci-fi really well. Um, Not for everyone though, because it did seem like it seemed like season one was pretty satisfactory for everyone that watched it, but season 2 to 4, you'll hear different variations of it. You'll hear some people hate all 3 seasons after the first season. You'll then also hear some people say like, no, season 2 was good, but kind of like the same thing that I said. And then season 3 was season 4 was much better. Then you'll hear some people say, no, season 1 was great, and then season 4, but season 2 and 3 are But I would still recommend the show. I think it's great personally. One of my favorite shows. And it's a rarity too because it's shot on film and it's beautiful, especially in physical media 4K. It's great. Can't particularly hard answer, but season 2 finale of Hannibal. Only problem for me was just season 3 watered it down. Not trying to spoil anything, but on first view, I still say Hannibal. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying, and honestly, I kind of had that same feeling. I think it was the first 2 times I watched Hannibal, but I think that in retrospect, I think that it still was really effective, and I do think that the aftermath of the season 2 finale of Hannibal, I think that they do handle it pretty well. Where I think it's like the entire first half of season 3 is like dealing with the aftermath of season 2. So I do think on that front, I do think that they did a pretty good job of handling like the necessity of developing like the aftermath. But I definitely get what you're saying, and I know why some people would feel the same way because you could almost argue that Dexter did a similar thing where the events that happened at the end of season 4, the first half of season 5 of Dexter, they are trying to deal with the aftermath. Ace Lesser, all the Hannibal characters great because I know Will and Hannibal are. I think I've heard about Jack too. Is he good? Oh yeah, they're all great. Dr. Shelton I mentioned, I think he has played wonderfully. Um, there are some. It's funny. There are some actors that you wouldn't expect to be in the show, but they are. So again, I'm not going to spoil those ones. But yeah, there's so many good actors. Jack Crawford's great. There's these two. I always forget their names. I like them, but I always forget their names, so I feel bad. There's two people that are kind of like quirky that work with Will Graham. Really like them. There's another character. She also works with Will Graham. Let me look up her name. I had it right in front of me. Um, Dr. Lana Bloom. She's great. I really like her character. She works really well, especially with Off Hannibal. Um, Jimmy, Jimmy and Brian. That's the names that two people that work with Will Graham. I think that they're really good. Beverly, that's the name. Beverly Katz. I really like her. Abigail Hobbs is great as well. She is the glue of the show. Freddie Lounds. I think that I mentioned earlier how they had Lawrence Fishburne do a role um, that's like different from Silent Slams in terms of the what the person looks like. They do something else in terms of like gender, like reverse genders, and that's something I thought was cool. And that is for Freddie Lounds. It's played by Laura Jean Kozetsky, and in other adaptations, Freddie Lounds was a male, and I think that this was a great role reversal. I think that it was really smart and effective and worked really well with the show. Dr. Frederick Chilton, Gary Jacob Hobbs. Oh, wait until you meet I'm not going to mispronounce them. The Vergers. Um, they are really good. They're really good characters. Dr. Evil Gideon. He's really interesting. Yeah, you're in for a treat. Mason Verger. There's a scene with him that is both like a hallucination scene but it's visually appealing, but then at the same time it is visually horrific once the hallucination wears off. It's an incredible scene. It's easily one of my favorite scenes of season two, and I think it happens in season two, episode 11. I want to say, but be on the lookout for that. Definitely make sure you're not eating dinner while watching that scene. Um, let me see. Can't particularly Hannibal is my favorite villain in fiction. That episode is the nail in the coffin. Yeah, honestly, no, not spoil anything, but even just a little thing that he did with involving a coat at the end of season two, a little detail like that, I thought was just like the cherry on top of his character. He's supposed to. I've heard he's the best villain ever. Yeah, he's my personal pick. I know some people say Darth Vader, but Darth Vader's cool and all, but I feel like psychologically speaking, Hannibal Lecter is the one that I'm most fascinated by. He's let's don't know if you guys read them, heard that Hannibal novels are really good as well. I also hear Hannibal and Will are the best dynamic in TV. So I did not read the Hannibal books. I have heard that they're really good, but I'm not really much of a reader these days. Actually, I haven't read like a full novel in years, unfortunately. Um, but I've heard the books are really good, and I've heard that apparently Silence Lambs is a really faithful adaptation. The original plan for the show of Hannibal was that it was supposed to be, I think, 7 seasons because there's apparently 7 books. Um, so they only got, I think what happened was season one and two was like book one and two. And then when they heard that season three was going to be canceled, they decided to just condense like the last several books into season three. So that's why it might seem like it's going in several different directions. But I still think it works, personally. To answer your statement, yeah, Hannibal and Will are excellent. They have a really interesting dynamic. It's very nuanced. It's complicated, um, and it adds a lot of interesting layers to the show. East West, I hear the main villain in Monsters is really good as well. People always compare on Hannibal. I know it's anime, but apparently it's very good. I haven't watched it though. Monster. Let me look that show up. Monster. Excuse me. Sorry about yawning, guys. It's late with where I'm at. Oh, Monster the 2004 anime. Oh, this does sound interesting. Tenma, a brilliant neurosurgeon with a promising future, risks his career to save the life of a critically wounded young boy. Hmm, that's so interesting though. So it's 78 episodes, which you would think means that it would be like 6 to 8 seasons, but apparently it's all one season. Interesting. It's very fascinating. He's plus like I've heard people say he's better than Hannibal, but I don't know. Yeah, can't particularly Hannibal and John Lieber are similar, but Hannibal appears him just because he's written better. Fair. Yes, but see, I heard it's very 50-50 on what people think. Yeah, it's just one season anime usually does that. Yeah, see, anime TV shows I've only seen like I've seen several anime movies for sure, but in terms of TV shows, I've only seen one, and that was Ping Pong, which I really liked. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very fascinating. It was only 10 episodes though, so I was like, cool, it's 10 episodes, it's one season, but I didn't realize that they did that where it's like 78 episodes, just one season. I thought they would break it up into several years. Excuse me. These plats, I heard ping pong is great. Yeah, ping pong is really good. Very satisfying too. Um, I think let's see, where did I watch that? I think like I had Prime. I think what I did was I got a free trial of Crunchyroll for a week, so I binge watched it in like a couple days. Definitely worth your time. I did review it on my channel, but it was just kind of like a generalization, like, hey, you should watch this pretty much. 'Cause that's what I try to do, just to get the word out there. Plus, the thing with animes, there's so many of them. Yeah, like I mean, I'm the same person that I've heard so many things about Avatar, like Airbender, like how great it is, but just haven't gone around to it. Can't articulate. Yeah, watch Monster. It's good, but it has a huge dry spell of boring in the middle, in my opinion. That's fair. I mean, yeah, if you have 78 episodes in one season, I'm sure there's going to be some dull spots. Because at that point, that just seems daunting. Like if I see that, I feel like it's much more manageable if you see like if you see 78 episodes and it's broken across like 5, 6 seasons, because you kind of have an idea on like when to take breaks from it if need be. Ice Blast. That's the second time I've heard that. That take on Monster. I know that's a big hot take though. Honestly, I didn't really hear about Monster. Although to be fair, I've I know there's a couple movies called Monster, so that's probably why. Like I might have heard before about like Monster, but I just might not have realized that it was a TV show. He splits. Mr. Critical says that opinion, aka Charlie, you probably know him. Huge YouTuber. Actually, I'm not familiar with him. I'll have to look him up though. Does he mostly do like anime reviews? Also, guys, sorry, just looking at my phone. Didn't realize how late it was. I will be getting off probably in a couple minutes, guys, just because it's getting late. But like I said, I'm going to try to have this weekly. Hopefully, I'll be able to keep up with that. Just so that way, can interact with you guys. And I'll try to also have it be where it's like it's planned in advance. Like, hey, instead of like, hey, like I'm doing this. Hopefully, you guys are able to see it. He splits. He does review in general. People say he looks like John Wick, and you just look him up. You'll recognize him right away, most likely. Let's check him out. He's 15 million subscribers. Wow, holy cow! Can't particularly. The one anime I would always recommend is Finland Saga. Good for non-anime watchers. It's good to know. Yeah, I know Cowboy Bebop. That's something that I've heard is also really good. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this live stream. I do appreciate all you guys for watching though, and if you're watching the stream like on rewatch, like I said, I'll try to have one weekly. But before ending the stream, just wanted to say thank you to Ace Palettes. Um, Shogun getting a 9.5. I'm happy to hear that. Definitely should watch that show. Can't articulate. See you, chat. Thanks, man. I look forward to seeing seeing a Letterboxd and Ace Palettes. Make sure to get a Letterboxd. It's so worth it. But it was great talking to all of you guys. I will catch you guys later.